Where are the low value men? Like, what are all the low value men up to during these trying times? Because the high value men, I know they're around. They won't shut the fuck up. Low value men, I have not heard a word out of. I'm starting to think I'm on their side. I think I want one of those. I want a low value man. They don't make podcasts. I haven't seen one low value man make a podcast. Do they not know how to use microphones? Maybe that's a good thing. That's hot. All right, I've never seen a man use a microphone for good.
Until now, everybody buckle up. It's low value mail time with your host, Danny Polishchuk. What's up? Oops. There we go. What's up, Scroats? How's it going? Looking a little different tonight because we got two guests. Welcome to an all-new episode of Low Value Mail. This is episode number 107. And joining us today, we got the Nephilim Death Squad, the host of the Nephilim Death Squad podcast, that is Top Lobster, and David Corbo. And they're going to be joining us very shortly. You saw them in the top boxes. Oh, it's cut off. But you saw them in the top boxes. Shout out to Dylan Farnham for finally getting a wrench. I know he wanted it so badly, so I just gave it to him. So good for him. That's a big night for him. So give him a huge shout out. Huge congratulations to him. We got a banger of a show. Before we get started, please, everybody, as always, like and subscribe to the channel. Just do that. Do one of those things. Or if you listen to the show on Spotify or whatever the fuck, just leave a review. Come on. It's easy, right? So, and if you want to support the show, we got an after show tonight. We're doing an after show where we watch videos and stuff. You're wondering why all these people have wrenches? Because they support the show. They get a wrench, then they get to drop links so that we can watch videos. If you don't have a wrench, you can't pick any videos to watch. So you're kind of like the DJ a bit, in a way. Sounds gay the way I said it, but it's what it is. And you help us with whatever. Okay. No show next week. It's Memorial Day. I love America, even though I'm not from here. So there'll be no show. So hopefully you'll get to barbecue or something fun. And we got an all new episode of The Bathhouse tomorrow night, live from the Stand Comedy Club Green Room at 9 p.m. As always, we got a good lineup tomorrow. I can't think of who's on it, although I can say, and that in a few weeks, we will have show favorite Brett Raybould coming on the show with his co-host of his radio show, the lovely Lisa Ann, will be joining the Bathhouse. That is confirmed, unless they cancel. But it is confirmed. Okay. And if you want to catch me live, I only have a few more dates coming up. Next Thursday. I think next Thursday. Yeah, next Thursday I'll be at the Mall of America in Minneapolis. So bring your gats. Someone says, who is Lisa Ann? Give her a check. Just give that a quick Google. If you don't know who Lisa Ann is, I don't know if you're fucking with me. But if you don't know, you can go check it out. And anyways, you can check me out in Minneapolis, Edmonton, and Vancouver, all at the House of Comedies. You can go to my website, dannycomedy.com. Not gay.jew. That would be the wrong website. All right, let's bring on the boys. Let's start this shit up. Here we go. Unmute. Let's get them both unmuted. We got one of them. We got two of them. Yo, what's up, fellas?
What's going on, brother?
Welcome to Low Value Mail. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. This is exciting stuff. Top Lobster, David Corbo. Say what's up.
What's going on, man? You just killed it. That like little pre-show thing, I fully enjoy. Usually when I'm like behind stage at anyone else's podcast and they do that, I'm like, this is boring. That was great.
Thank you. Like, I mean, I've had 106 tries before this. So this is.
I was impressed. Where does gay.jew bring you?
Gay.jew doesn't bring you anywhere because I don't want to buy it. It's been suggested that I buy it as my website, but it's like $400 a year, which just doesn't seem like the best use of funds. And then some people want
you're gonna need more of those little wrenches in the chats.
More wrenches in the. Honestly, but doesn't matter. I don't know. There's no amount of wrenches where I'm gonna buy gay.jew.
I don't know. It seems pretty straightforward. It
is Jewish. I mean, it's a super easy to remember website. That's for sure. It is a banger. I didn't know that you could get .jew as a thing.
What needs to happen. It's crowdsource. Step 1 is crowdsource. Step 2 is secure gay.jew. Step 3 is profit. I
mean, look,
it's kind of a no-brainer.
This is the only way it's going to happen where I'll even say go to gay.jew is someone buy it and then don't involve me in any way. And just, you can redirect it to my website. At that point, if you're dealing with it, I will definitely be like, go to gay.jew to check out my tour dates. But other than that, like if I have to, like someone's like, oh, I bought it and then I got to like, transfer over the hosting, not doing any of that shit. So shout out Brosif Smith. Thanks for joining the channel. Appreciate it. All right, fellas. So the Nephilim Death Squad, it's a pretty new podcast, right? You guys fairly new. I looked it up. You guys have like less than 20 episodes.
All things considered, we've been around now for like 7 months, and I think in all,
or is that just on YouTube?
Well, it's just on YouTube is Nephilim Death Squad, but we also do Neph to America, and all together we're in like, I think, dude, we're brushing like 60 something episodes.
Oh, sick. Okay, cool. So shout out to Dylan Farnham. He says my wife was watching Tower Gang with me and said Top looks like Nigel Thornberry. Who's Who's Nigel Thornberry?
Oh, that's fuck. Who said Dylan? Fuck you, Dylan.
Dylan. Dylan's got this wrench now, so because he's been calling everybody gay for having a wrench for like 3 months. So now I just gave it to him. No, I just gave him one because that's.
You just gave it to him.
I just figured that'd be funny.
That's the least Jewish thing you could do. Nigel Thornberry is one of the best characters from the Wild Thornberries. It's a childhood cartoon, and he does.
Nose?
I don't know that. But I'm from Canada, so Canada we had the raccoons, which is like the shittiest
naming wildlife.
No, it was honestly, see, that's the thing. You guys are Americans. You'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? All the Canadians are like, yeah, the raccoons. It was the crappiest show. We had the Smoggies. They're all bad. Anyways, but so we had shows, and sometimes there's like references, and you're like, never heard. So, all right. Thank you guys for coming on. So the Nephilim stuff, I've, seen a lot of just references to this in probably the last year. I don't think I ever really saw much about it other than maybe like Ancient Aliens or something like that, like something in that world. So you guys like specifically talk about the Nephilim. So they're what? It's just like a biblical giants?
Well, number one, you're welcome for that.
Thank you.
Because we started like some Nephilim shit. We were just saying like hashtag Nephilim shit. And all of a sudden it became a meme like out into the universe. And then we noticed there was a time period. Do you remember when the 10-foot aliens crashed in LA? Or was it?
Vegas? It was Vegas.
I talked about that a lot, where the kid was like in the backyard and he was like, I saw them. Whatever happened with that?
Yeah, exactly. But whatever happened with like all this shit? So but they were calling them aliens. They're like 10-foot aliens. Then with like the meme Nephilim shit, like anytime we saw something like gay or retarded, we call it Nephilim shit. And that started to kind of like take off. Then the next thing that happened was the Miami Mall stuff. And they were calling those Nephilim. Like people, it was in the zeitgeist to call them Nephilim rather than aliens. They were giants, right? In the
right, yeah. That's what someone said, but I think it just turned out to be just unruly teenagers.
Shadow people. It was black kids.
It's black kids.
Just black kids.
Just unruly. I mean, it was crazy, the police response of like a mall fight in Miami, but
I mean, the whole thing doesn't make sense still, but it was I'm not saying that we take credit for it, but I do think that we kind of nudged cultural awareness in that direction, because why would one thing be called aliens, 10-foot aliens, and then another thing is called Nephilim all of a sudden, right? Like that just kind of popped in.
Like about that Miami Mall shit. I know it's been beaten to death, but my cousin's a firefighter in Florida, and he was watching the videos, and he was like, something's not right about this. You've got like 1,000 cops responding, but there were no fire vehicles, no ambulance. You know, so these cops just kind of surrounded this mall, the perimeter of it, because something was going on, unruly teenagers. But it's completely unusual for some like an accident or something, an event, and you don't have these guys tracking. You know,
right?
So,
but there was no did nothing, because there must have been 5,000 people at the mall.
Yeah, people reported that they saw huge shit. Then there was like there were some fake videos that came out to kind of distract and confuse.
Sure.
And then it just went away. And
what is strange is that they lost power during that. There was a wide area that lost power. There was internet outages in that area too. Yeah, Clint Russell lost power, lost internet
during that specific mall thing. Clint's been on the show before, he didn't have power. Interesting.
I told him, I said, "Yo, go down to the mall," and he was just like, "I'm cozy. I'm too cozy to go anywhere." And he just fucking fell asleep.
I mean, from where I understand, Clint lives to that mall, I think is like an hour drive. He probably was just like, "Fuck this." Yeah, I understand that. So, what is specifically with the obsession? Do you guys actually have a obsession with the Nephilim, or
so?
Is it just more...
I wouldn't say necessarily that. Well, yeah, it's an obsession. And basically the idea, I thought about it and I was like, what am I fucking talking about? The idea is that, you know, all of this sort of spiritual weirdness that's going on, from the aliens that they're trying to unroll in the media, right? There's like this slow unveiling of aliens on a government level, all the way to sort of the satanic backdrop in the government, in the music industry, in Hollywood, and then to people's personal experiences with, you know, kind of supernatural experiences. We realize that, in our opinion, this all stems back to these biblical entities, that the Bible did talk about these offspring of angels that rebelled against God. They came down and they banged human women, and their offspring were called the Nephilim. And when those things die, their spirits linger.
Hold on, let me ask for a second, Danny. Where are you at on the Neph question? I don't
know. This is like part of this show is bringing people on, so I make up my mind, like people who kind of know more about the stuff than I do. Like I've heard about them casually. I haven't like done a ton of investigation into them. I've watched like some YouTube videos. I watched a few of your guys' things. But in terms of actual belief about them, I have no idea.
Oh, so he's just a blank slate. We get to paint whatever.
Yeah. I mean, you're here to convince me, and I guess the viewers and callers. And honestly, the phone lines. We'll open the phone lines in half an hour or something. So
I feel like now I just feel like lying about it. Like
you could.
We totally could.
I mean, I had fucking people coming on with a homunculus, and we were talking about all sorts of shit. I'm like, I don't know.
Shout out to Juan.
Shout out.
Yeah, Juan. Yeah, Juan came on. Donut talked about it. I mean, you could certainly lie to me about it, but I mean, if you lie to me well enough, then I'm going to start telling people about this shit like it's true.
That's what I mean. That's the goal. Like what I love.
Yeah, which is the goal. But so, these are like, what is the word I'm looking for here? Like these are like supernatural beings, I guess.
So I think one of the best ways to kind of talk about it is in the context of the guests that we've had on our show, because very much like you are learning these things in real time with the guests that you have on, that's like kind of the same thing that we're going through. I mean, we had a guy in the form of L.A. Marzulli, who's a biblical theologian. Is that the correct word? I made that shit up just now.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Let's go with theologian.
Definitely sounds right. I think it's theologian is how the fancy.
Yeah, but I just put fucking an accent in there. Yeah, one of his big things that he drills home, especially when we had him on, is that what people are experiencing with alien abductions is sort of a rebranding, that these beings are ancient. They've been here since like the dawn of mankind. They're actually a byproduct of the angels that rebelled against God and also their offspring. And they've been rebranded to be like our technologically advanced homies from space. But the thing is, they're after the exact same thing that the Fallen and the Nephilim would have been after, which is fucking with our genealogy. They show up, they abduct us against our will. That's if you take these people's experiences as the truth, that they're not just hallucinating or something, which a lot of people would say that hallucinations by their nature don't fit a set of patterns.
Yeah.
And these things fit a set of patterns definitively. And so, like I said, his contention is that these aren't highly advanced technological space brothers that are coming here to, what's the narrative we've been sold, right? Through like Hollywood and a little bit through the government, is that they are here to prevent us from mutually assured destruction, but also to prevent us from destroying the planet. So they've got like this benign aspect to them. And they also might share some technology. That's what kind of Hollywood has fed us over the years.
Have there been, sorry to cut you off, but have there been Nephilim Hollywood movies? Like, have there been movies with Nephilim in it?
Well, there was a movie with the fallen angel himself in Noah, which was a perversion of that story, because the book of Noah is where you actually get the Nephilim story. When
that's like the Ark?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why.
Sorry,
well, I mean,
my Bible references are not sharp.
Right. So that scriptural, I'm not going to quote it, I'll paraphrase it, but it says something to the effect of, and men were wicked on the earth, or like something like that, and that's why it had to be replenished. So people will take that as, oh, the men, like the people were wicked, and it was corrupt. But no, the men were corrupt with the Nephilim, which is why the flood came to wipe out the Nephilim. It was just too overpowering.
Right, Top. What was that line where it's like Noah was perfect in his, it says generations, but the more accurate translation would have been in his genealogy.
Yeah,
his bloodline hadn't been tampered with. He basically wasn't from a bloodline that had been fucking these Nephilim.
Sure.
And producing offspring of a tainted bloodline. So really, the way
were chicks fucking them just because chicks love tall guys?
They were fucking them because,
like, is that like the ultimate tall guy?
It is. It's the ultimate tall guy. He's also like magical. They were all black. No, I don't know what.
That's what it sounds like.
Damn, there should be a Nephilim basketball league. They're all taller than the rims.
Yeah, I mean, for whatever reason, it's just that if you go back as early as you possibly can, sex has just always tempted people, and it just seems like women they just can't chill. Like they're constantly led astray. They're constantly fucking us over. And so, the original, I won't get into this too much, but there is like an original mother of the Nephilim, this woman named Lilith, that I guess has been painted
she's like the demon or whatever.
Yeah, she's been painted as the first wife of Adam, but that's not necessarily true. I think that is kind of not a mistranslation, but a purposeful deception. But either way, these things, as far as like movies go, when I was talking about the whole
David, I mean, right there, you could just Lilith. I think Amazon is doing a cartoon series.
Yeah, they are
after Lilith.
Yeah, I used to watch this podcast called The Female Dating Strategy with these 3 chicks who were anonymous. They were like femcells, and one of the chicks called herself Lilith.
Right, she's like the ultimate. What would you call it? Feminist figure. You know what I mean? I know. Yeah. Back in the 60s, I think there was even one of the bigger feminist movements was named after Lilith. Lilith was
Lilith like Fair. There was the Lilith Fair.
Yeah. So she's kind of in the backdrop of the culture all the time, moving women, seemingly in the wrong direction.
They just mentioned the name because this is almost like an ancient deity, an ancient god, which you see all the time, people worshiping different pagan deities. It's just out in the open. They're calling her by her exact name that she was known from the beginning. That's really strange. That's like a worship of a small g god.
But you know what that distortion comes from? When I say that I think that it was a purposeful lie that Lilith was the first wife of Adam, that is the foundation for like, oh, Adam wanted Lilith to be dominant. Or I'm sorry, he wanted to be dominant over Lilith, and she rebelled against that. So that spirit is what lends itself to feminist movements. Gotcha. They're like, yeah, like that is more than likely a lie. So they're championing this fucking kind of like this mother of dragons character, mother of demons, essentially, because that's what a lot of our guests that come on that talk about this, Gary Wayne in particular, would say that demons, as we know them, are the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim. That when the Nephilim die, their spirits don't go anywhere. They're trapped in a realm where they can still kind of affect what goes on here, kind of like Al Capone still ran things from prison, but he ran things on the outside. This is the predicament that they're stuck in. So they can influence us. They can sort of whisper in our ears and nudge us. Some people can channel them and shit. A lot of elites go to great length. Yeah, a lot of people do channel them.
And what would be like? I guess you had who is like the world's foremost expert on this?
Probably Gary Wayne.
I would say Gary. Yeah.
And so
his book is actually right over top shoulder, right there. It's that book right in the background, the Genesis 6 conspiracy.
Okay, and so what is like the best evidence for these that exists?
I mean, it's hard to say what's the best evidence because you've got to look at like a body of evidence. So you do quite a bit of noticing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that it's beyond your reach to say that within Hollywood, within the music industry, within certain elements of the government, there is a ritual sort of satanic element, right? With all of the symbolism that Hollywood puts forward, all of the giant, seemingly ritualistic shows that performers put on, right? There's no shortage of that stuff. Hollywood seems to be immersed. It seems that there is
the whole P. Diddy thing. I saw you tweeting about it today, Danny, or maybe yesterday. Yeah, that stuff there is filled with, I mean, on its face is filled with R&B drama, but on the backdrop, it's like, this is basically Epstein stuff. This is Epstein stuff for black people.
I'm still waiting to for it to get to the scope, I think, of Epstein. But yeah, it seems, I mean, no question, he was doing fucked up shit. I mean, he's on like, I think that's on record that he was doing all this fucked up shit. It's
I would argue
they can't even prosecute him either because the statute. It is amazing how if you just have like a little bit of money in America, you can literally just beat the shit out of somebody and not have any repercussions.
Even that though, like that right now, I'm looking at that and I'm like,
she might have deserved that.
She probably did.
We don't know what she said before.
It might have been for the best, but the way I see it right
she
now,
got 50 grand.
Oh, so then there you go. I take a beating from Diddy, not like a sexual one, but you know, like a regular one,
like an open hand beating for 50 grand. You're like,
yeah, I take that all day.
From like a guy who's like 60 years old. Like, all right.
Yeah, I'm sure he's not well, but when I see that, right, where it's like, oh, Diddy's beating up this woman, it's like, hey, ignore the fact that he was butt fucking Meek Mill and dumping loads in Justin Bieber. And let's focus on the fact that he was beating this woman. Whenever these people get in trouble, there's always the lesser of evils that they get crucified for on the public stage. And the thing that was rumored to have happened takes a back seat. So, I mean, I look at this as like damage control. We'll let something out here, release that video of Diddy beating that bitch in the elevators. But let's try to, I was on a Stu Peters show and he's playing me supposed audio of him clapping Meek Mill's cheeks.
I heard that. That's my friend Geo, who's like, he's a comic and he's like so into like I don't think he knows a single thing that's going on in the world, but he knows every single thing that's going on in hip hop. And he played that for me. I'm like, there's no fucking way that's real.
I hope there's no way. Cause I was like, damn, dude. I mean, somebody's getting their cheeks clapped in that audio. But
it's crazy because like, you could be so separated from like, that's why when I'm on Twitter, I call like my Twitter some shit, but there's a black Twitter where there's a whole thing going on.
Oh, I've been there for the past 2 days.
Entire culture. And sometimes you just brush with it. It's very interesting. In New York City, you'll do that in real life too. You'll brush with black culture. Like that's what you guys are doing over there. It's crazy. I got to come back on my side.
Right. Yeah. I wish Twitter had an option where you could just like turn on, like, I just want black Twitter right now.
Oh, it would be on permanently.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. I just want to turn it on. Just give me my like normal feed, and then just give me for the next half an hour. Instead of you like, because the other alternative, you could just make a new account and then go follow all this stuff. And yeah, it's way too much. Go ahead.
I was just going to say what Top was kind of getting at before is like, even with the Epstein thing, right? We look at Epstein and it's like, there's a damage control documentary. He's getting his shoulders rubbed by 16-year-olds. And it's like, no, it goes way deeper than that. There was children on that island. But not only was there children on the island, nobody talks about the backdrop of the temple on the island. Nobody talks about the videos that came out where there are like 8-year-olds dressed in sashes like they're in Greece. And there's a giant golden statue of Minerva, which has been adopted over time to represent Moloch, a Canaanite deity that you sacrifice children to. this is on the island. Everything that happened on that island happened in a temple. And we push the backdrop of all this weird spiritual shit to the side because we don't understand it. And we go for, well, he was like a Mossad asset and he was blackmailing people. It's just a sexual blackmail operation. And that's it. And it's like, okay, fine, because you can hold that.
Just go. So like to bring that back, you have Minerva, the owl god, which has now been kind of confused with Moloch. And Moloch goes all the way back to the Bible where they're talking about like, they're like, oh, but ye have taken up the tabernacle of Moloch in the Bible. And I think in the book of Acts. So this is the same dude, just rebranded. And he's back in the culture today, for sure in the culture today, because like, why else would you want to kill millions and millions of babies? Like I'm talking about abortion, like it's being pushed on the people. They're opening them up like McDonald's. You know what I mean? And it's not because they want to help people. It's never because they want to, oh, we really love the people. We want to help them. It's like, there's something else going on, dude.
I mean, some people, I guess to give a devil's advocate, I mean, some people, that is what they think they're doing. They're just like, yeah, we're helping people. But I guess the question is, what is the overarching, like, you know, overarching.
Maybe you're helping people, but there are actually babies dying.
Yeah.
And, you know, people could have, I don't want to even have this argument on here, but like, if you're taking out chunks of babies, a baby died there, that's like something significant happened there. And that's like a blood altar sacrifice. Now imagine, I don't know, 2 million of those.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it true too that, was it, and I don't want to say the wrong name because this lady's name sounds familiar, but it might not be it, but I think Margaret Sanger,
yeah,
who was a famous
eugenicist. And she like started the whole.
Yeah, and she's got dialogue. Yeah, she's got dialogue talking about basically that, you know, the black community needs to be under control. Yeah. And let's just paraphrase it to for my limited knowledge. I'm sure somebody could look it up. So this woman who was the open eugenicist who talks about how the black population needs to be controlled starts Planned Parenthood, which, you know, who's the number one as far as race goes, customer of Planned Parenthood? It's the black community. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, whatever you think Planned Parenthood is, it's certainly a different thing to like the ghost of Margaret Sanger or whatever the hell her name was, you know, she's sitting there rubbing her hands together. So, I mean, the whole thing is when you say what's the best proof for them, it is hard to come up with concrete proof because it is really the overwhelming body of, I don't want to say anecdotal, but like inexplicable evidence that piles up.
Yeah, like all the shit around you, it's like constant. That's why Nephilim shit became a thing, because we're like, yo, that's Nephilim shit. That's and literally anything can be it because it's pervaded the world so much so that it's a meme.
It's just like kind of evil, I guess.
Right.
Synonymous. Now, a lot of because you guys are talking about like kind of the similar to the aliens, but the aliens are always tiny. Like, isn't like when everybody has like, you know, they get abducted or whatever, they're always like, they're small.
They're small grays. There's a whole bunch of different shit that people see, right? When we talked about whether or not these were hallucinations, but hallucinations don't adhere to patterns. Some of the patterns that turn up consistently are, let's say, for example, the type of entities that you run into. The small grays, like you're talking about, there's taller, skinnier ones. There's some that look like praying mantises. There's some that look like tall, pale, blonde people.
The
Nordics. And then there's a couple of other ones. So what I would say about the grays is that they're like biological meat sacks, that they are created by these things. They're almost like, they're like biotech. Okay. And, you know, if you ask me where this theory came from, one, hundreds of hours of testimony, listening to people share their experiences and then drawing like through lines. Like, this is the same shit that other person said, that other person said. There's these elements repeat themselves. Oftentimes when people are visited in the night by these grays, it'll be accompanied with a sort of a putrid smell, like a rotting flesh. I think that that's because these things are biotech. They're part biological organism, part technology, and they are something that is like temporarily embodied to do a job. And when it's not doing the job, it just fucking like lays there. Yeah. And it smells like ass. Like they don't wash them. You know what I mean? So these things are just biotechnology that they use to get to us, because for the most part, like I said, a lot of these entities are stuck in another realm like Al Capone doing things here, but through technology, they can interact with us in a much more physical way.
Okay. I'm gonna open the phone lines so people can call in 1-888-949-2969 extension 1. Tell me about the star of Remphan. Is that how it's
pronounced? That's a strange one. Dave, what do you think about it?
I don't know what it is. Oh, yes, David. Yeah.
No, because it's one of these things that people say that it resembles the what is it? The Star of David.
Sure.
That bad boy, I noticed right there. And it does bear a striking resemblance to it, but the scripture then gets into like that they've taken up the Star of Remphan. So it's like, well, who are these people?
And this is in the Bible.
This is in the Bible. What you won't find is like any biblical precedence for it being the Star of David. There's no text that says that.
Old Testament?
Just Old Testament, New Testament, doesn't matter. There's no biblical foundation for the Star of David being the Star of David. There's no connection there. The only thing that you have to it is this reference of it being the Star of Remphan, which is also a symbol for, Remphan is one of the names of another deity called Saturn, which is interchangeable with Satan. So when you go to the Bible, is it in Revelation, where it
Book
talks
of
about
Acts in the New Testament is mentioned.
Yes,
that's the Star of Remphan. Yeah,
that's the Star of Remphan. But in Revelation, it talks about the the synagogue of Satan.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's Revelation 3:7, I believe, or 3:9. So the synagogue of Satan, Saturn, the little, like the small black cube, the stuff that they have on their head. A lot of people will say that the Judaic religion has actually been created, but also subverted even more in a way that it's like the Talmud has a lot of idol worship in it and a lot of weird customs.
Mm-hmm.
Have you read through it?
No, honestly, I don't know a single Jew who has.
That's the interesting. See, this is the interesting.
That's the weirdest thing about the whole Talmud thing is that it's like no Jews know anything about it, and it's only people who are not Jewish who know about it.
Well, there's in the Bible when it talks about the synagogue of Satan, it says those who basically those who call themselves Jews but are not. So what it insinuates is that
it's like an infiltrator,
like Jews for Jesus.
Well, like the Jews have been co-opted.
Gotcha.
By something else. We did an episode recently with Dustin Nemos, where his contention was that a long time ago, the Khazarians were basically charging a shit ton of money for anybody who wanted to pass through Khazaria in order to complete their trade route. And eventually the surrounding cities got fed up with it and just invaded them. And we're like, no, we're not going to deal with your shit anymore. And they made them adhere to one of the three sort of like Abrahamic religions, and it was either Christianity, Judaism, or Muslims. And
they were paganists, so they were doing like multiple idol worship and all the other shit that comes with that kind of a lifestyle. So these guys were like, you have to adopt at least one of these three because these are like closer to our culture and things that we can control at least.
Sure.
So yeah, finish it off, Dave.
So and when he says pagan worship, take that to mean they were worshiping fallen angels and or their offspring. But they chose the Jewish religion. It was, closely aligned with theirs already. And that's kind of where the subversion began. And then over time, another group also ended up subverting the Jews called the Edomites. But this is, at least in Dustin Nemo's opinion, what makes up this synagogue of Satan. These people that are claiming to be Jews but are not really Jews. And these are the ones that are digging the tunnels. These are the ones that are controlling Hollywood. These are the ones that are running the music
the tunnel
industry.
diggers are the most Jewish. Those are like, I live near them. They're literally they would look at me and be like, you're not. Nothing.
What were they doing? Have you?
I know what they were doing because we have a guy who listens to the show, Joe the Lawyer, who is an Orthodox Jew. And they were literally, they think that the guy who ran their synagogue was the Messiah, and he died. Like if you ever, I don't know.
The Moshiach?
The Mashiach or whatever. But like if you ever go around Brooklyn, there's stickers everywhere that says like the Messiah has returned.
I know that dude. Yeah, he was on like Ocean Parkway. He had banners
everywhere. It's literally fucking everywhere, these stickers, and it's all over Williamsburg and stuff. And so this is what basically the story was. And I mean, it sounds like this is, I mean, again, I'm sure some people will be like, it's not what was going on. But
so they had that dude down there because he died.
No. So that guy's grand plans is they have their like main synagogue or whatever in Crown Heights or whatever, Williamsburg. So his grand plan was he wanted to expand the actual synagogue to make it physically larger, like, right? But the older heads were like, we're not doing that. Like, it's fine. We don't want to make it bigger. And then the younger ones who were like, I guess, super into, you know, more zealots, I guess, or whatever. There was like a big, just like fight between the older ones and the younger ones. The younger ones like, we need to expand it. We need to make the synagogue bigger. And so then they basically just started digging it themselves, at which point, and then they did it for like, a day, and we're like, we can't do this. So then they literally went and hired Mexican day laborers, which is hilarious. And then they were just expanding it. And then the older guys found out, and they're like, you're literally going to make this building collapse. Like you're like damaging like the structural integrity of this building. So it was the people who ran it who called the police. Like, it wasn't people around there. It was like actual people who ran the thing who called the police because they just wouldn't stop digging. They like refused to stop. And anyways, yeah. So that's what he says anyways.
That just sounds retarded. I mean, I kind of because it sounds so stupid.
Yeah, I mean, that's, again, it's, if you want to go on like Occam's razor, you're like, it's probably what was happening versus them doing crazy, like a bunch of 18-year-olds doing like blood libel rituals or whatever. It's like
that makes it even funnier against the backdrop of them like crawling out and running.
Oh, it was hilarious. And that's the thing. A bunch of them were not like apparently a bunch of them were like had overstayed their visas because they were from different countries. Because I guess like Jews from different countries will come. New York's like the hub outside of Israel, basically. So then they come here, and then they were like all overstaying their visas. So I think that's why the one guy was running, because he's like about to get deported back to fucking Argentina or some shit. But that's what I've heard. I don't know. And I know that I know that a bunch of them had. It was I think I read it recently. Like charges were pressed against a bunch of them.
I'm sure. I mean, what's interesting though is like, so the Jewish tunnel stuff is like, are they sacrificing babies? Who knows? Are they digging? Is this like, who? It doesn't even matter. What matters to me is what I'm looking at now is the Jewish people have been kind of like put on the chopping block lately. They've been putting a lot of their like shit out there. Like you have Kanye West that came and hit with the Jewish stuff. Then you have the tunnels, and then the war in Gaza, right? And this is all kind of just beating people over the head. And it's feeling very like Weimar Republic, you know, like we're about to repeat that cycle. And I'm kind of like, I'm just sitting back and watching it like in amazement. I'm like, is this the way everyone is going to head again? Because it worked out so great the last time.
It's happening fast.
No, I mean, the funny thing is, like, again, the Jews with the tunnels, you're like, normal, those people are as alien to you guys as they are to just secular Jews. Those people are fucking freaks. Not freaks, but like, you know, they're not relatable in any way. And they look down on anybody who's not in their, like, they're so insulated and shit, like, that they don't like intermingle really with anybody.
You know,
dude, I lived in Coney Island. Are you familiar with Coney Island?
I know I've never been there, but I know what it is, obviously, yeah.
All right, so it looks like a little penis. It's like a peninsula, sticks down, and I lived there my whole life. Super ghetto, like from where you get off at the train all the way down to 37th Street or something like that. And then there was a gate. It's called Seagate. Behind that gate is a Hasidic Jewish community. It's not like specifically Hasidic Jewish, but it really is.
But there's
a gate, and you walk into that place, and it's like a whole different world because the culture is like, it's like disorienting once you walk through the gate. Like, what the fuck just happened?
I mean, some of them like don't
different from us.
Some of them are like born in America. They don't speak English. Like they're very much like, you know, I mean, I'd almost equate them a little bit to like the French in Canada. Like there's all these French people in Canada who are like, we want our culture so badly that they're like, we're not assimilating
isolated.
in any way. Yeah, they're like, we're not assimilating. Yes, we're Canadian, but we're not learning English. Like if you go to Quebec, outside of Montreal, like a lot of people don't speak English at all, even though you're in Canada. Like they don't. What
do you think, Danny, of of like the trope of Jews running the music industry?
I mean, definitely some of them do. I mean, in terms of running it, like,
or let's use a better phrase. Let's say, because running it is like, how does any one group run the?
I mean, the thing is, a lot of these are like public companies,
right?
Now,
So what I think
CEOs
is
Jewish, possibly, yeah.
So then, maybe a better term to use would be like influence.
Sure. I mean, they influence it in the sense that, yeah, I mean, if you're a CEO of any company, like if you run any media organization, I mean, how many media organizations have we seen just absolutely run into the ground in the last 10 years because whoever ran it was like, I hate Donald Trump. And so we're just going to literally fuck up all our credibility and whatever, just to like make sure that he doesn't get elected.
Netflix did that.
I mean, Comedy Central is for me, like maybe the best example. Like Comedy Central, I've said this before. They have over 11 million subscribers on their YouTube channel, and they'll do live streams of comedy right now, and there'll be as many people watching it as they're watching right now. This show.
Wow.
Like, like 100, 200 people.
They were like the tip of the spear when I was a kid.
That's like, yeah, like I remember like going to bed and you'll be like, and I'm fucking watching, Comedy Central presents, and you're seeing the best of the best. And it kind of influenced me to move the way I moved now. Like I was working with Lewis at Skankfest, and that's like, dude, working next to comics, for comics, like this is the thing. And it's funny to see them take something so cool and just fucking spike it. Why would you do that on purpose? And
well, they didn't do it on purpose. Like they weren't like, let's ruin it. They were very much like, fuck straight white guys. They've had their time. So now here's like some chick who's been doing comedy for 6 months. And then, if you just think of it from a purely business standpoint, you're like, if you have you have all these people who you're like your customers, quote unquote, and then you're giving them something that they don't want. It's like any business. It's like if you go to a barbecue, like a barbecue joint, they go, we only sell vegan food now. And you're like, I don't want that.
But then their customers didn't want that.
I'm going to tell you,
their customers. Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, that's the whole point. But they were so fucking like, just like not flexible and just stubborn where they're like, we don't care. We're going to tell you. And you know what? I think in like earlier, like older days, not even that older, but they could, like it used to be a thing where music could be like, yeah, we're going to just break this person and they're going to be the next most famous guy in the world because we say so. And we're just going to push them so hard. We'll just make it happen.
But you see companies doing this over and over again. And it's like Pit Vipers, the latest ones, for no fucking reason. The white boy summer glasses, they sell those glasses only to people who celebrate white boy summer. Like no one else is wearing those stupid glasses. They're clown shoes for your face.
Yeah.
And they decide to take to Twitter and go, fuck this bitch that's wearing it. We're donating the money that you spent to some leftist organization.
Sure.
And it's like, well, why would you do that? Like it makes no sense unless you're being forced to or told to.
Well, I think it's like the Google thing where, you just like you slowly start hiring this type of person, and Comedy Central was for sure that where like, and when I say this type of person, it's like pretty liberal women, cause they probably make good employees if you're working in a fucking office doing like, admin shit and just running a company. And then eventually they're all like, hey, this is how we want this company to go. And
I mean, it's the argument of like the banality of evil, but I can get behind that to an extent. But when you see bitches like fucking Marina Abramovich making her way around the music industry, doing weird mock child sacrifices, spirit cooking with all these
totally cool stuff.
That is like that's a
mock sacrifices.
That's in one individual subverting an entire musical industry. Zelensky was trying to make her the Ukrainian ambassador to education. She's an overt Satanist. Everything she does is about, it's Satan forward shit. All her art is baby parts and bones covered in blood. Everything. She goes under the guise of an artist because for some reason you can get away with the most obtuse shit.
Satanists wouldn't be.
I mean, the Satan thing with the art thing, and we're going to take a phone call in a second, but the Satan thing with the art thing is, it makes sense because, when there was the Tipper Gores trying to be like, we need to ban these albums, then artists are like, we're going to do the opposite of that. And what's the craziest thing to shock people is we'll be Satanists. Now it's like lame as you see fucking Sam Smith and Lil Nas X, and you're like, this is just
And so
whatever.
it's my contention that it's not about shocking anybody. They're doing something. There's a spiritual aspect, in my opinion, and it's a very strong one. The world is incredibly spiritual, much more so than the average person gives credit to, but just as much as like people that are in real high positions of power. Not all of them, but people that are up there, they know, and they manipulate that.
Yeah, I mean, again, if at some degree it'll just be like, maybe this is a charitable take, but they'll just be like, whatever's going to make our business the most money is the thing that they'll do. And if it was selling Christian fucking music, they'd be like, that'll do that, but that's not particularly
true.
Kids are not wanting to buy that shit.
But if that's true, then why are they constantly doing shit? Like I forgot which movie just came out again, but it's going to probably take a $200 million bath. They don't even care.
The Planet of the Apes?
Lightyear, what was that?
The new Planet of the Apes movie?
There's a new Planet of the Apes?
I think there's a new one. Yeah. Okay, let's take a call because we got a bunch of people waiting. 1 second, please. Let me bring them on. This is somebody you guys definitely know. Hello.
Yo, what's up?
How's it going? Conspiracy extremist. What's up?
What's up, brother?
Shit, man. What a way to start a week. I got my 3 favorite anti-Semites together. I mean, this is fantastic.
Oh yeah, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm great. So hey, I did have something I wanted to talk to you, run by you guys and see your thoughts on a Nephilim shit question or subject. But first, I do need to publicly put it on the record. I know I said on Twitter, but Corbo, I do want to publicly concede Cocktoberfest to you. I was wrong. I apologize.
And what is Cocktoberfest?
I'm glad that you guys are finally doing this because I really like Conspiracy Extremist. Check out his show, Horseshoes, Hand Grenades. And him and my co-host the other show we do, Tower Gang, we had a Cocktober, and basically our fans sent in pictures of their cocks. And we were judging on like from least delicious to most delicious. Okay. Not saying it should be fully erect. Not saying it should be.
It was to understand it was a scale of all the way up to scrumdiddlyumptious. That was the.
Okay. All I'm hearing right now is every black comic I know who is just like, white guys do the gayest shit to prove that they're not gay.
No, we're just competitive, right?
It went from gay to like, this is actually interesting. We're judging on legitimate metrics. We had
there's like phrenology, but for like,
I don't know the meaning of the word.
Anyway, David won, and I'm glad that you're giving that up. But what's your question,
thank you very much.
Like your penis one?
Yeah, my penis one.
Oh, okay. And who was judging it? Like everybody was judging them?
Clint Russell. Was one of the people judging it, and me and my other co-host, we had to decide on there's a lot of different factors. There's artistry, it's how you presented it. Some people were just kind of
like puppetry of the penis.
Yeah, nothing like that. And I feel disrespected. I don't know, whatever. We don't know if we're gonna do it again, but maybe
we're gonna do it again.
All right,
I don't know.
All right, what's up, conspiracy extremist?
Okay, so this is funny that you guys are on today because over the weekend something popped in my head about Nephilim, and I'm thinking so every time I think of Nephilim, I think of them in as males because they're part human, right? So you'd think they would have some sex, gender. And I'm like, oh, were there female Nephilim? I feel like there had to be. So I'm like, what do you guys think? Do you think there's male and female Nephilim? If there's female Nephilim, what are your thoughts about that bitch Pearly things?
She definitely has a second row of teeth.
I mean, she's pretty tall.
She fits the description of a Nephilim. They like pale, red hair. She probably has 2 rows of teeth.
Right.
Like her shit is filled out, man. So if she opened her mouth and you saw a second row of teeth, would you be surprised? Probably not. So yeah, no, I don't doubt it.
I don't doubt it, but I can't think of any biblical precedents, any stories whatsoever. There's a lot of stories that of Nephilim, of giants. I don't hear.
But have they? Sorry to cut you off. But have they? Are they currently just kind of mingled into the
so there's the
population?
The giant of Kandahar.
Hold on. They said that there were. I mean, there had to have been Nephilim females because they were Nephilim villages. They're mentioned in the Bible. Anytime God tells the Jews yo, go take that, or kill everybody, the cows, kill the goats, kill the children, the woman, like leave nothing. That's a Nephilim village. It's all about bloodline, and he's like, you got to take that. You got to take those people out.
You just think there would be one like cool story of a 20-foot tall chick with giant tits, just one, but there's not one that I can think of. Because in modern day, you have the Kandahar giant, right? A bunch of American military ran into a giant in the cave system of Kandahar in Afghanistan and ended up killing it. There is stories from the Native Americans of them trapping a group of giants in a cave system and smoking them out and killing them that way. They barricaded the exits and they set shit on fire at the entrances and basically just killed them via asphyxiation. There's a lot of stories. The Solomon Islands. There's even one guy named Luddy in the Solomon Islands. You guys can find news articles about him as recently as like 2004, 2005. And the people in that town in the Solomon Islands still leave offerings to the giants of tobacco and some other
as
shit.
As they do in
as they
Afghanistan
do.
Still. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
as they do in
things.
Afghanistan. Right.
Yeah. It's like a tradition that they carry on, and people still might do it, but they're not quite sure why they're doing.
But it comes from a time where they actually brokered a peace with them, because what happens is these giants, they always become cannibalistic. They always start fucking eating people. And so eventually there is a treaty to be made. And
a lot of people say that's what the human sacrifice is. Like the symbology of the human sacrifice is like giving to this giant that will come by. He's like, I'm going to eat one of your people in this village one day a week. And we're like, take this guy. That's our sacrifice, you know?
Sure. But so there are women Nephilim.
I guess there has to be. Yeah.
I mean, there has to be. How could there only be men?
If
they go knock up human women.
If you subscribe to a certain line of thinking, some people think that Bigfoot is a Nephilim as well.
Like an Eliud.
Yeah, some type of. So there are a lot of variations of this thing, and there are female Bigfoot, or so people say. So when we're talking about the Nephilim, we're not just talking about giants. You're talking about a scale of different creatures from like, could be lizard people, however they present themselves, to giants and everything in between. These are Nephilim. These are products of the fallen angels. And as their bloodline continues to go down, it just results in weird stuff.
Because it's my understanding they weren't restricted either to just humans. They were fucking everything. Yeah. So a lot of these things are like where you get your dog-headed gods in Egypt or your hawk-headed gods, all these different things. These are, the fallen and their offspring. They were having sex with everything. And I guess, who could blame them?
Yeah.
You ever just see a dog, dude? You ever look at a dog?
Personally, no, but I get it. All right, conspiracy theorists. Anything else?
No, that's. I just want to say we got to figure out somehow to get you on Tower Gang, man. Now, this arc that's going on.
Yeah,
awesome.
for sure, dude. We'll make it happen.
We actually have Owen Benjamin tomorrow. So
okay, I can't come on.
Come check that out before I forget. Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
All right,
he doesn't like me.
Cool, thanks. Man.
All right, later. Okay. Who we got up in this? Sorry. Where's? Oh, did he? Oh, here we go. Sorry, 1 moment, please. Oh, excuse me. 1 second, please. Unmute. All right. Well, while we're waiting. Oh, here we go. Brett.
Yo.
Hey, what's up? You're on Low Value Mail. Go ahead.
Hey, good fucking morning, guys.
What's going on, brother?
Morning. Where are you? Where are you calling
Australia?
from that it's morning?
Calling from Texas. Oh no, it's not morning. It's David will tell you.
Oh, it's a fan
morning.
of Timeline. A very racist good morning to you, sir.
Sure.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I just wanted to say the fucking Nephilim Death Squad, fucking dope show, dude. Like the first episode I watched is like you were like, yeah, I'm 5'7". I like to fucking I like to fight, and I've had what is it the sleep paralysis. I was like, God damn it, dude, fucking me.
Fucking 5'7". I like to fight, and I've had sleep paralysis. That is, I don't think anybody needs more of a description from me. That's it. That'll do.
Sounds like a good online dating.
No, that
dating
was
bio.
like literally it, dude. Yeah, man.
I'm glad that won you over, bro. I really appreciate it.
Shit, man. Maybe one day I'll fucking send you a link, dude. Sometimes I have amateur fights. I had one last week.
Oh yeah, dude. If you ever want to send anything, just DM it to me on Timeline Cleanse. I'll pull it up.
What do you fight?
Well, I'm just an
amateur Muay Thai fighter.
Oh, okay. You ever been
nice.
You ever been to Thailand?
No, I haven't been to Thailand. I train with a lot of people that have.
Oh, okay. I went there and there was like on a vacation, and then there's you get to go see fighting, and literally you can watch 7-year-olds just kicking each other in the fucking heads, no protection at all. It's insane. They do not give a shit out there.
Danny, were the lady boys as rampant as they say?
Insane. It was crazy. And they're the most passing lady boys out of anywhere by far.
God bless them.
Like sometimes the only way to tell is the Adam's apple. Like otherwise you're like, because the thing is they're generally like the Thai men are generally kind of feminine looking, like feature wise, and they're small. They're not like, so it's, and apparently they have like they have like some of the best surgeons in the world there because
they're going to say the best bussy.
No, it's so common there. But so anyways, but yes, the lady boys are everywhere.
Hey, Danny, wood?
Wood? No, not wood. No.
I
just couldn't get
looking one.
Not if I knew. I mean, there were many stories. I had friends who went down there and they're like, they got duped.
That's the number one place for plausible deniability. Like, I didn't know. It just, that pussy was so sweet. And then,
well, if you get to that point, I don't know how many of them have the surgery. That I don't know, but a lot of them will have like fake tits and that whole stuff for sure. But again, like they're the best ones by far.
That's Nephilim,
especially as a group. There's no question, because like there's no like none of them are walking around with 5 o'clock shadows. Like
Are they aggressive? Like, are they propositioning you as you walk down the streets?
I was with my girlfriend at the time. Not really, no. But they're it's weird because they don't integrate as well in society here. Like here, they're all like, we have to be sex workers. Like half of us are sex workers. Whereas there, it's normal. It's so normal there. And it's not a weird thing like it is here. Like they're not like fighting for their rights. They're just part of society.
So the lady boys are like sous chefs, but also if you're trying to fuck, they're down.
No, because I don't think women can be sous chefs in Thailand, but they're like doing chick stuff.
They gotta have some standards.
Yeah, but they're doing just like, like if you go to like a club or something or a bar, like there'll be bartenders and shit like that. Like it's just totally normal.
All right.
America needs to step its game up, like, because we don't, as like a whole, like if you're judging the transgender society on a whole, it's like, I'd be like, no, like do better. Well,
guys. They're just like the percentage of passable ones here is so much lower. Like they all pass there.
It's hard to take a big white dude and turn him into a lady. It's hard.
Yeah, man. It is. It sucks if you're trying to do that. Cause I mean, I see it in New York, like you see it all the time. It's just like 6'4" walking around. I was saying, we were joking about it the other day because you literally like a lot of trans women, they look worse as women than they did as men. Right? Like, it's not like they look better. You're like, you for sure look better as a guy. You look
terrifying.
Way worse as a woman.
That GameStop video where he's like, it's ma'am. Like that dude was horrifying looking. Right. This guy called in to be like, I love Nephilim shit. We're like, how about those trannies?
I don't know how we got on this, man. Oh yeah, we're talking about Thailand. All right, Brett, anything else, man?
Oh shit, I was just gonna say, since y'all were talking about like the fucking how in like the Old Testament they like it's like spare nothing. Doesn't it even say like burn the fucking crops and shit?
Yeah.
It was like, well, like, couldn't that be some like these motherfuckers making the GMO food and basically
That's exactly where my brain went. That's right where my mind went as soon as you said that.
On top of that, you got like motherfuckers like Donald Trump just smashing down fucking burgers and fucking like McDonald's burgers and Diet Coke. Like, you think he's like they made like Nephilim food, bro?
I mean, the whole idea, I'm starting to understand as time goes by, the more we do the show, I'm understanding the sentiment of like, leave nothing, everything. They've altered everything from the livestock and the people all the way down to the fucking produce, and it all needs to be wiped clean. So I don't know to what extent they're doing it now. It's funny because in the book of Revelation, it says that things will be as they were in the days of Noah. And it's like, well, what do we got? We have inversion on every possible level. We talked about it just now with the whole tranny thing. We've got fucking aliens genetically manipulating us. We've got all these horrifying hybrid programs, right? That like China's always doing supposedly, or that the American government's not doing, where they're hybridizing, pig men and all this crap. And yeah, there's
every time I look up at the sky, I don't know if you see this, Danny, because in New York, like the buildings kind of overpower what you'll see above you. Yeah. But it's like a fucking checkerboard, dude. Have you noticed this?
Honestly, I don't really look up.
That's the crazy shit. When I was living in New York, I don't look up.
Well, like, because you risk getting like air conditioner water in your fucking face.
Yep.
And stuff. But I mean, like I live in Brooklyn. In Brooklyn, I don't notice it in Brooklyn, but when I'm in the city, like our studio's like in the city, I don't really look up too much. Yeah, I look, if anything, I look down because you can't risk making eye contact with some psycho. So you just kind of eyes on the ground.
It's true. And New York had this way of keeping you like in my spot for like 33 years, 32 years of my life. It's like, I'm in this spot. And then I moved out to Florida after the pandemic and after all this crazy shit happened. And it's like I'm able to kind of like adjust and like understand what's going on around me much better.
Like when movies used to start and they'd show off widescreen and it would start as one thing and then open up on the movie screen.
Yeah. Like almost like the old projectors kind of style.
Right.
Cool. All right. Thanks, man. Later, Brett.
Yeah.
All right. Let's take another call here. One sec. We got the Goob. What's up, man?
Hey, Danny.
Hey.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
So, you guys were talking about the synagogue of Satan, and I think you were suggesting that the Jews worship Moloch. But are you familiar with the idea of Yahweh being Satan? Because there's
isn't Yahweh
lots
who the black
of suggestions.
Israelites?
No, Yahweh is your God.
I thought that's who the black Hebrew Israelites.
It is, and it isn't. That's the thing. It's always like this weird renaming inversion. So they say, yes, this is the same God that Judeo-Christianity, but the ones that know that it's not. It's something completely different.
But yeah, they also say that there's El and the Elohim, which are above Yahweh, and then they also say that Jesus is not the Son of God, and I believe Jesus also said, or not the Son of Yahweh. Jesus also said he was not the Son of Yahweh, and there's a lot of Gnostic texts referencing, these similar ideas that Yahweh is actually Satan. He is the corrupter. God talks about how Satan is going to try and lead you down a false path. And that is what Yahweh is doing, and who he is. He's trying to represent God and pass off as God, but he is not. He is not El. He is not the Elohim. He is not, the true God. He's something else entirely.
Right. So this is all sort of New Age jargon, and it's hard because with the Gnosis community, it's a very difficult place to be. Once you get in those waters, it's hard to tell what's up from down. And the number one thing that Satan does is he inverts God's creation and God's message. And so when you come across something that's telling you that God is exactly the opposite of what you think he is, it's an interesting concept, but it has to give you a tremendous amount of pause because this is classic playbook shit. And in the Bible, it says, lean not on your own understanding. And gnosis or agnosticism, not agnosticism, I'm sorry, but this idea of gnosis and the New Age community is exactly men with limited scope desperately trying to understand something. And I'm not saying that there's not a lot of value in there or a lot of interesting stuff, but I just tread really carefully through that.
My only understanding of Gnosticism comes from the Elder Scrolls games. So
nice.
Let me just say,
but yeah, I don't know. I mean, there are there does seem to be a distinction between Yahweh and God, and there's definitely differences between the practices of Christians and Jews, and like you guys were talking about Moloch, but could it be just directly built into their religion? Could it be their main god that they're worshiping is actually corrupt itself?
Well, even with the Jews and
going down.
Even with the Jews and Moloch, it's like we're talking about the Khazarians and how they were pagans and how they were forced to adopt and they chose Judaism. And they typically, whenever a pagan society is conquered, they will hide their deities in whatever it is they're forced to adopt: Catholicism, Christianity, Judaism. And so more than likely, that's what's happened here. So when we talk about Moloch or Remphan or Saturn, these are entities that I think were hidden more than likely by the Khazarians and the Edomites within Judaism, and then they never shook them off. So not all Jews worship Saturn or Remphan or Moloch, but within the Jewish community, there is a subversive group that does. So where Danny even said, he's like, most Jews haven't even read the Talmud.
Most Jews haven't heard of Moloch, like, to be honest.
Exactly.
Again, that's like something I heard in the last year, like, or two, maybe.
Right. That's something that is practiced and sought after by a group that is hiding amongst the Jews. And they hide amongst more than just the Jews. They hide amongst the Muslims. They even hide amongst Catholicism. It's my understanding that the Vatican commissioned the erecting of a statue of Moloch in Vatican City. So if you go to statue of Moloch on Google, you'll find one in Italy. I believe it's in Vatican City. And if I'm not mistaken, it is commissioned by the Vatican itself. So they erected this.
And there's the giant snake, that is the
auditorium,
the cathedral in the Vatican. The auditorium. Yeah.
So this subversive group has infiltrated all religions. I would imagine.
They haven't up until now really been able to kind of like sneak their head out and be like, it's Satanism, but they kind of go into everything. Think about Stairway to Heaven, right? If you played that backwards, it had like some weird hidden satanic cryptic message. What's the point of making millions and millions of people do this subconsciously or take part in your ritual? Because they've been doing that for, I don't know, at least as long as I've been alive. So there has to be a certain power to that.
What's the guy's name that wrote Morals and Dogma? I have his book. I've never read it because it's longer than fucking Lord of the Rings. But Albert Pike, I believe, said that the goal, he was a 33rd degree Freemason. And I'm not saying that all Freemasons are what the fuck ever, but this guy was in the know and said that, the goal was to mass initiate people. So there is some spiritual significance to being initiated within a ritual. And if you look at what we kind of alluded to earlier, where through the music industry, through Hollywood, through these giant ceremonies that are done, on the fucking Super Bowl stage where Madonna is dancing on a giant Egyptian sun disk and, there's all this fucking fallen angel imagery. We're being initiated, whether we like to believe it or not. And it's why suddenly these esoteric occult ideas are, like Danny said, he hadn't heard of Moloch till like a year ago, but it's fucking Jack Sparrow of fallen entities. It's like, but you have heard of him now all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. So for whatever reason, we are being subjected to this, and it's slowly being dialed up so that this is something that the people are accustomed to. I couldn't. I mean,
Netanyahu referenced Moloch.
Yeah, so did Hilary Clinton, right? Hillary Clinton and the John Podesta emails. Yeah. I mean, she's also very famous for having those emails that said that she's looking for the location of Gilgamesh's resurrection chamber and the buried Nephilim. So these people,
Hillary Clinton referenced the Nephilim?
Yep. And resurrection chamber of Gilgamesh.
Asked for them specifically. Yeah.
Really?
Right. Yeah. So this shit is the backdrop to life here on Earth. It just isn't. It's not the foreground. It's not something that we're all aware of. We're caught up in the grind, And
then you look at the political too, like the Iraq war. It's like, oh, we did it because of Saddam Hussein. Oh, we did it because of oil. We did it because of 9/11, yada yada. But it's like, no, like we've invaded ancient Babylon for 25 years or something like that, and then just left.
Yeah.
Like
and the very first thing that was raided were the museums and places like that when that kicked off.
Strange, right? This is about liberating a people and securing weapons of mass destruction, but we got to hit up those museums, baby.
Or if you're libertarian, like libertarian doesn't quite reach the bottom of that. It's like it's all monetary, right? It's like, oh, they're funneling money from here, and then the foreign policy is like, I don't know. It just looks like a blood ritual to me, and then the same old shit as always. Nephilim shit.
So you guys were talking about the power of this stuff, and I don't know if there's truly power in it, but what I do know is that you can look at the people who are in power today, and a whole lot of them are involved in this stuff. And I'm very into history, and I look at, the biggest figures in history, and almost all of them were deeply involved in the occult and this kind of stuff. And so it sure does seem to provide some real world value very significantly. And I don't really know what to make of that, but
I just make that keep in mind it's short-term gains. They are in bed with entities that do provide gains, but they are expedient, and what they require is typically sacrifice, which is another big end of what was actually going on with operations like Epstein, because you're kidding yourself if you think that there's not more. This sort of thing facilitates the bodies that they need for these sacrifices. That's why Epstein's Island was filled with, the fucking elite. That's why Bill Clinton went there 27 times, was it? I think the new numbers have gone dramatically up. And so,
something like that.
Yeah, something pretty damning.
It's funny to see like all my political friends, the guys that like have these shows. And I would love to ask Dave about this, Dave Smith, because as we're moving through this political spectrum, things are getting like way more supernatural and weird. And like, so my boy Clint, he's always on Timcast. He's always doing all this shit political. He's running for vice president. And then something happens and he's like, got to look at me like, it's like, what are you guys talking about on that show? Because he just had a whistleblower from Phizer who came and said all this shit about the vax, and then basically said it was Nephilim shit. He said, well, why do you think they do this? And that's what she told him. And I could see a pause on his face. Yeah, dude, it's not coming from me.
10 years she works at Phizer, and he goes, what do you think the point was? Because the inoculation wasn't seemingly to defend us against this virus. And she said,
what do you think about the Nephilim?
Yeah, what do you think about, basically is what she said. She used the word Nephilim. She said, what is your religious background? He said, I'm agnostic. She said, well, I'm Christian. This has to do with the Nephilim.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so
I mean, well, thank you for answering my questions. I'm gonna let another caller hop in.
Thanks for asking, brother. Good talking to you.
Thanks, Goop.
Yeah.
All right, let's take another call here. I don't know who this is, but we're about to find out. Hello, you're on Low Value Mail. Who am I speaking with?
What's up, brother? It's John from SoCal. How you guys doing?
John from SoCal.
What's going on, John?
What's up, John?
Man, I was going to start. You guys got me all over the place. I was going to start with the gay Hollywood mafia. We guys going into with David Geffen versus Ryan Seacrest. Then you got chemtrails. We have billboards in my town in California saying "Stop chemtrails" for a decade plus. That ain't
Who puts
new.
them up?
The town.
Oh, the
It's a
town.
literal town full of ex-military.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's Shasta, California. Go look it up. Geoengineering Watch is up here doing soil samples like all the time. That's where that guy's from. He's all over. He's legit.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Dude,
but the Nephilim, you guys go Nephilim. I was going to talk about the Hilary Clinton email with Moloch. You don't reference Moloch in a joke unless you know the reference. You don't send an email saying, oh, I'm going to sacrifice a chicken to Moloch unless the other person on the other end of the email understands the reference. Else you're going to sound like an insane psychopath.
For sure.
I don't know how many. Yeah, imagine me sending a work email like, yeah, it's been a tough week. Maybe I get that next sale, but I'm going to go in the backyard and sacrifice a chicken to Moloch.
I mean, look, part of me does find like it would be funny if everybody who knows Hillary Clinton is like, no, that's her thing, is like weird Old Testament puns is like her shit. Like when we're talking about things, she's like, yeah, dude, where's that fucking resurrection chamber of Gilgamesh? Like that just means,
I just was talking to Eleanor's ghost. I was talking to the ghost of whatever the fucking ex-Roosevelt, And she told me to sacrifice 2 more babies.
Yeah, and that's it. And each time nobody laughs, but she keeps doing it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's like we said, man, that's what they're into. And not all of them. Just like it's not all the Jews. I think it takes
No, you said it before. It's inside. It's just like the Illuminati. I was explaining to my boss. My boss is from Vietnam. And I was explaining to him the actual Illuminati, like the old, like Adam Weishaupt.
Bavarian,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, no, they took over Freemasonry. He had a plan. He literally developed a plan, said, I'm going to set up an inner circle in Freemasonry so I can do all the whatever stuff he was doing. And he did it. And they got caught. And I was telling him the only reason they got caught is because the courier got struck by lightning and the constables stumbled upon the messages between the Illuminati members, and they're like, "What the?" And it was a big scandal. Today, it's like it's whatever.
Well, even the Illuminati was like outcasted for Bavaria because of scientific like exploration. It wasn't quite occult weird shit yet. They were just being persecuted for their beliefs. But whatever this group has been there since biblical days, and they subvert any. It's the same way like the CIA will subvert any grassroots movement that has potential and steer it.
Setting up circle inside of a circle. Yeah,
exactly. They continue to do
the
this.
The idea is the same.
Yeah, it's a good idea. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
All the way to the Vatican, to the church, which was influenced by Khazarians. The Pope wanted to lend, but it's illegal. In like Abrahamic religions, you can't lend with interest. So he's
almost
like,
every religion except for one.
Yeah,
sorry,
right.
Yeah, and the guy that'll do it is this dude, and now that's my banker, and now he controls the money. And you see how this becomes an issue, and it is kind of like the Vatican is very subverted anyway, and then you have that other backdrop of whatever that is, and these things when they intertwine, this is what we're dealing with.
It's like even the Vatican might not be knowingly do it, but once you get in bed with the devil and you find out that this little group that infiltrated is actually something totally fucking different and has a lot more power than you anticipated, but you already betted them. You already made that deal.
They know. You don't build a statue of Moloch.
Well, now they know, but I'm saying it didn't necessarily have to start that way.
Well, there was whistleblowers in almost all these institutions that we now kind of see as evil, corrupt. There's been people that have come out. I mean, Gunderson was one that woke me. I was kind of laughing because you guys, I'm guessing, you guys probably woke up around COVID. Seems like a lot of people woke around COVID. Like I was talking about Jeffrey Epstein in 2008, and everyone called me crazy when his first arrest. I was everyone. And then you get phone calls that say, "Man, you were talking about Epstein in 2000." Like, how did you know? And
people
like,
call
he got
you?
arrested.
Nobody fucking calls me. I've been doing this since 2006, and I lost every fucking friend that I ever.
So I'll give you. Oh well, you got some better friends. So I had to do it once. I had to do it once.
Well, he had to make new ones
a long time ago, when I was a kid. I had to tell my buddy. He was the first one. I mean, this was like I remember. This is for everybody that. So I've 9/11. My first. I watched Loose Change on a VHS tape that my dad's Vietnam buddy brought over to the house and showed us this, not VHS tape, but DVD, whatever, and showed us Loose Change. And I remember, like, this was before I was awake. I still was, I was against either party, all that. I was a kid. I had a visceral reaction of anger. Like, how could someone make this documentary? How could they do that? How could they even say this stuff? Like, this is horrible. Obviously, I love Luke Rudkowski, all that stuff. It's all been proven true. 9/11 was an inside job. It's no doubt. All the kids even know it these days. But like, if you don't understand stuff, you will that propaganda has got so many people that you will have a visceral reaction to information.
Mm. Yeah, you see that a lot now.
That Loose Change is to me, Luke Rudkowski's cool. But he's like lukewarm conspiracy, and that's exactly what.
No, he's I don't agree. Trust me, I'm not a.
No, he's deeper. He's deeper than you guys. He's deeper than he lets on. I'll say that.
Yeah, he doesn't give all the. He's got info, just like Alex Jones. I wish Alex Jones would just do like a 2-hour, like here's everything I know, and just spill his guts. But he doesn't, and he won't.
Yeah.
Well, Strap for. If you guys don't know about Alex Jones, I love him, but he was caught up in kind of right-wing BS, like feed him information. Strap for. The whole thing was a joke.
He's interesting now. He's looking at Orthodox Christianity.
He owes somebody $700 billion. And
he owes
no, I'm with you. It's all bullshit. I mean, all that stuff is bullshit. Who knows if he went off the reservation, but there was a period where he went kind of lukewarm, like you said, as well.
Because, what do you think? You think he's coming back?
If you could think about it, think about this. If
Naomi Wolf is talking about, she didn't say Moloch, she said something else. Like, yeah, and there's hope for everybody.
Based.
Yeah. All right. Anything else, man?
Nope, that's it. Take care.
Appreciate it.
Good talking to you.
All right. Let's take another call here. Going across the pond. I just like saying that. It's our only non-North American listener. Hello.
Hey, how you doing? This is James from Ireland.
James from Ireland.
Ireland, nice. What's going on? You guys okay over there?
It's grand. I mean, it's the world, so shit happens everywhere.
You got chemtrails in Ireland?
Do you guys have chemtrails there?
What?
Do you have chemtrails in Ireland?
We have planes, so probably.
We got to look up. Right. You motherfuckers got to start looking up. If you take anything from this podcast, look up when you go outside, please, guys.
I'll see. Yeah, I mean, like we would probably we have planes, so there would probably be chemtrails.
But people don't care about chemtrails in Ireland. That's not like.
Well, I saw a poster at the bus stop once, but no, nobody cares.
Okay.
We have other shit to do. Sorry, I don't want to like ruin your fun, but I want to debunk the Moloch thing at the Vatican.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, what actually happened is they were doing a celebration of the Punic Wars, like not the Vatican, but like a local town in the Colosseum. And as you know, Moloch was a god who was worshipped by the Carthaginians, who were the other guys, and the Carthaginians.
Okay.
Well, so it was often worshipped there, so they decided to have the statue of the guy up for a few months just because they were talking about the Punic Wars. It wasn't related to the Vatican at all. Sorry for ruining your fun.
Oh, okay.
That's all right. I came on Danny's show to lie.
Yeah, but so why did they put it up just as a commemoration of this war?
Because it's fun, you know.
Yeah, it was one of the most famous, the Punic Wars. Hannibal crossing the Alps. One of his gods was Moloch, so they just had it up in the Colosseum.
Yeah, that's like when CERN did a mock sacrifice just because it was fun. Like, it was like
the Vatican wasn't involved.
Okay.
Oh, you're saying the Vatican wasn't involved? Gotcha.
No, it was just like maybe it was somebody, but it wasn't the Vatican. Well, because we all know the real enemy is Martin Luther.
Sure. I just actually started reading a book about Martin Luther.
Protestants taking over everything. Kill them all.
You guys hate Martin? You guys hate Martin?
All the Protestants.
You guys hate Martin Luther?
Is it still there? It looks like it's still there. The statue.
Martin Luther, not Martin Luther King, the old one, the German one.
Yeah, no. I did this guy's show, this radio show, and this guy, his name's Eric Metaxas, and he wrote this like crazy book on Martin Luther, and he gave it to me. I started reading it yesterday, actually.
What was his deal?
Martin Luther? He was he pinned the thing on the church that saying like the Catholic Church was full of shit.
Wasn't that the guy that said that you didn't need sort of a mediator to understand the Bible and such?
I think he hated the indulgences. That was his main beef, was that you can't just buy your way.
In all fairness, he did have a lot of good points.
Yeah.
It's just Irish tribal stuff. Like, I don't mean any of it. Half my family's Protestant. It's just, Irish tribal things.
Yeah. It's like literally like fucking Rangers and Islanders. You just go, hate them.
Yeah, no. It's one of the things where we all live to kick the shit out of each other. But if someone else started hitting the Irish Protestants, I'd be on the Irish Protestant side.
Of course, right.
In a second.
Yeah, like if a French dude shows up and being like, yeah, let's get the Protestants. You're like, no.
Where you guys live, are you dealing with any of the migrant issues? Because there's these videos all over the internet. If you're in America, it looks like Ireland's insane. But I suppose that's probably the same position you guys are in looking over here.
I mean, it is starting to hit here, but it's nowhere near, but it's not like anywhere near the levels of America. What happened is there was a big tent city and then some people tried to move it. And it's a very complex issue. And yeah, we are starting to kind of reach capacity, but it's not at the levels, it's not at the levels that America is yet. You know what I mean?
I mean, I was in Dublin in January, and I couldn't sleep, and I went for a walk around at like 8 a.m, and it was the fucking whitest place I've ever seen. Like, it was like, because I specifically was like going to be like, I'm gonna go see what's going on. And what's that?
So we took about 100,000 Ukrainians. We took 100,000 Ukrainians.
Really?
So yeah, we got really big into the Ukrainian stuff. It's like a fuck you Russia colonizing thing. But I actually wanted to say something kind of interesting on the Nephilim.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you, like, this is just to the other two guys, sorry, the Nephilim Death Squad guys.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea any knowledge of Irish mythology whatsoever?
As far as, would that be the Druidic or like the Celtic?
I mean, that's kind of the same thing.
Right.
But like Irish mythology specifically.
Yeah, like a lot of fae, kind of like fairy kin kind of shit. I only know about that through somebody was on here before saying they only knew about Gnosis through Skyrim or something of that nature, Elder Scrolls. My understanding of Irish lore, Irish mythology is really informed by like, you know, Hollywood and video games. And it crosses over into a lot of like the supernatural stuff that I've learned about. And I mean, it's very interesting. There's a lot of really in-depth sort of mythology when it comes to Ireland. It almost makes up the entirety of like all of your kind of Dungeons and Dragons lore.
I mean, sort of, but what you've described about the Nephilim or whatever is basically Irish mythology. Nephilim.
Is Irish mythology from what era?
All of it.
How far back does it go? Is it pre-Bible, pre-Old Testament? No.
Well, we don't have written records, but it's at least they were written down about 1,000 years ago, but it was practiced well before then.
Okay.
In Irish mythology, well, we're one of the only cultures I've ever met that kill their own gods, which is pretty cool. But the Tuatha De Danann we kind of describe them as almost fallen angels, not angels who fell but didn't join heaven or hell. They're basically imagine every alien story you've ever had, kind of every nightmare, all that stuff. They were like, if you know what I mean, they were basically we banished them after a long war. We banished them to the other world, where they would emerge. And that's where they stayed. That was us killing them. And they would sometimes emerge and abduct children and take them to the other world. But because we banished them, they could never stay. So what you're describing about the Nephilim is basically Irish mythology.
It's the same story, and it tells itself in every single culture.
Yeah, doesn't every isn't that the whole thing where
but when that happens
from paganism and stuff?
Well,
like
it's
that?
not that Christianity is from paganism. What happens here is two things get misconstrued. One is when you hear these same stories told all over the planet in different cultures, it gets reduced to like this. Oh, well, they were all just using metaphors and allegories to describe celestial events. And so they named all these deities and they created all these entities. And it's just something that ancient man did over and over and over again with having no contact. When they're telling the same story, it's my contention that the biblical story is the most accurate, because when these things came down, they made themselves lowercase g gods and kings. They subjected the people. They ruled over them. They gave them short-term gains for sacrifices and things, but they lied to you about their nature. I'm not saying you in particular, right? I'm just saying like this is what they did to all the people all over the earth, is they lied to us about their nature and what they really were. And the Bible is the one that's telling you like, no, these things are evil. Even the Greek gods, it's the same thing. You can find pictures of Zeus holding a 3-pronged staff, where there's 3 prongs on each side. It's a short staff. in the same fashion as like a Sumerian tablet that shows Baal. Baal is, I believe, listed as one of the fallen in the book of Enoch. He's one of the angels that were casted out. He is depicted as holding the same rod. He is described in the book of Enoch or the book of Giants as the king of storms. So you see like the crossover. All these entities were the same entities. They just adopted different names across different cultures. And whether or not they took place before the Bible was penned at some point. It was written down. You know, whenever that happened, it was basically a series of, what would you call it, Top? I mean, all of them are a little bit different, but prophecies and visions. So it supersedes time. It wasn't an event, or it wasn't a writing down of a series of events that were happening in the moment. A lot of these were visions that were kind of like what you imagine God contacting and showing you the truth of the matter. But the reason that story repeats itself across all these different cultures is certainly not because, here's a good example. Timothy Alberino was a guest on our show. He's a archaeologist, spends a lot of time in Peru. We just talked about Noah's flood, right? And how Noah's flood was actually to get rid of this corrupted bloodline. So Timothy Alberino talks to the native people of Peru who have a more direct lineage to the ancestry of Peru. The government will tell you that the megalithic structures in Peru were created by the Inca. But if you talk to the people that are actually the closer descendants of the natives of Peru, they will tell you that the megalithic structures in Peru were created by a race of giants, and that these giants they were evil, and they became cannibalistic and started eating people, which is what the giants, it's the same fucking story. And then what happened? Their overarching head god sent floodwaters to kill the giants. It's the same fucking story. So it's absolutely fascinating what you're telling me, that it lines so closely with Celtic lore.
Because someone in the chat here said that they also believe in mermen and mermaids, which goes into like cryptids and also Nephilim shit. It's
all connected.
Yeah.
Do you guys, James? Do you guys believe in mermaids?
Well, we don't have mermaids. We have selkie. They're basically women who could turn into seals.
I mean, I saw some of your women there. They did look like seals. Sorry.
Firstly, fuck you. Second of all, you're right.
Yeah. yeah. Cool.
I just wanted to. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before I
go.
What you described, the whole thing is kind of similar to the Formorians. They were basically these ancient, kind of like the Greek Titans, these ancient demonic god things that kind of massacred all the people before the first gods managed to drive them out. And then the humans came in, and interestingly, in some folklore, the humans were like Noah's granddaughter, and they came and they drove the Tuatha De Danann out, and that created the otherworld. And also, it's about 9,000 years old. We have stuff in Ireland and tombs and shit older than the pyramids. And interestingly, we also, like Stonehenge, older than Stonehenge, and we also aligned it so every what's it called, the winter solstice, basically the sun still shines in and lights the whole thing up. It's pretty cool. Like, we have some of the shit they describe as almost like a radiation. We have one god who basically had 7 cloaks around his eye, and every time he took off a cloak, his eye would get stronger as it goes from like fire to cities burning. And it's almost like the radiation shields being lowering on a nuclear reactor. That's some of the shit in Irish mythology. It's pretty much, interestingly, Ireland have all the mythology of the Celtic stuff because no one else wrote it down. That's just interesting and kind of ties to your Nephilim stuff.
Honestly, it's fascinating. And cool. I'd love to get somebody on the show sometime to talk about that.
This world is so old, though. Like, I mean, just in Tennessee, there's pyramids in Tennessee. You think of America being kind of like virgin, maybe like kind of new.
It's like one of the newest countries in the world.
Nah, dude, this shit is old as hell, man. It's like all the same stuff's been happening here, there, all across the world throughout time, and we're kind of blind to it. We laugh at it, becomes a meme. But when you look at this same story being told over and over and over again, and then you look at your society quickly heading to where we're redoing this, it could get a little strange, making you start questioning things.
It's like Dr. Narco Longo talks about how all over Florida there are ancient anchors that the Vikings would have used that predate the foundings of the Americas. So the Vikings were here before, and they found Viking burial mounds in New Orleans, I believe. They bury their dead in a very particular way, and there's only one culture that did it that way, and it was the Vikings. And there are 2 burial mounds in, I believe it is New Orleans. But I live within like a 15-minute drive of a few of those anchors that he talks about, giant stone anchors that would have been from the Vikings.
Crazy. All right, James, thanks, man.
Oh, just one last thing. There's actually evidence of Irish people, I believe, who actually made it to America in the 6th century, just some saints and stuff. One guy in 484 AD, he managed to make it to America even for the Vikings.
That's fucking
crazy.
Awesome.
You guys have been trying to get the fuck out of there since time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Appreciate it, man. Later, James.
Bye.
All right. Let's take another call here. By the way, if you are currently watching this on YouTube or Rumble, please subscribe to the channel. Do me a solid. All right. Up next, got a few more calls. Thanks again for coming on, guys. Appreciate it.
Of course, this is great.
Very cool.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun.
Yeah. Let's see. I don't know this person's name. But yes, please hit that subscribe button. I'm sure some of you are not subscribed to this channel, so hit the subscribe. And this person is not able. If you got to press *61, I think, to join the show. All right, this person's not doing it. We'll take someone else while they figure it out. Oh, *6. Our lovely producer told us. Hello. No, we had them, and then I think they hung up. No, they didn't hang up. Oh, he had it, and then he lost it. Hello? Hey, what's up? You're on Low Value Mail. Who are we speaking with?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, yeah, what's up? This my name is Matt.
Hey,
I
how's
was
it going, Matt?
calling about doing good, man. I was calling specifically about like the Nephilim, and this might be like asking, Zeppelin to play Stairway to Heaven, and you guys might have already touched on this. I just checked in a few minutes ago, but have you guys talked about yet the 2002 incident with the giant of Kandahar?
It was referenced briefly, yes, but we didn't really get into it. If you guys want to tell people exactly what that is.
So
you guys go ahead. I mean, I have only watched a few videos about it, but you guys are obviously more.
I mean, it's a fascinating story. It doesn't have too much meat on it in that there was never any official paperwork written on it. There have been a couple of people who claim to have been there, and then there have been people who served during that time and so heard the rumors and the chatter around the different bases because word spread pretty quickly amongst, the infantry. But it was told, according to these people that did speak, they've spoke on several podcasts. You can find these people, I believe, on Tony Merkel's podcast, The Confessionals. I believe even Blurry Creatures is another show where you can catch some of these people who have talked about it. And
LA has LA Marzulli has an interview with the pilot, I believe.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Really?
Yeah.
What did the pilot say?
Well, I mean, basically the story goes, and this isn't the only story from a military personnel during that time frame in that area where they saw a giant that I'm aware of. I know of another guy too that saw one through an infrared scope or night vision scope, and but we can get into that later maybe. So basically these guys just kind of, it's my understanding, they stumbled upon it. They were just doing a what would you call it, like a survey where they're sort of walking the land, and they heard some noise from a cave mouth and went to investigate. And I don't know if it was shallow and this thing couldn't retreat into it, but what emerged out of it was a...
Oh, no, David, sorry. So the first team was doing a field run, and then they didn't respond back. And they sent out another team to go investigate. And as they're like going up this mountain, they're seeing shreds of clothing, different shit like that. They get to the top of this mountain plateau, which has like a cave at the mouth of it. And that's when like supposedly the shit goes down. So go ahead, Dave.
Well, they get into an altercation with this thing. It's like hyper aggressive. It actually spears one of them. I think it kills him, right? The guy's name was supposedly Danny. Completely impales the guy. This thing is like, I don't know what the measurements on it, but it was able to lift.
In the report, it said stood a towering 13 feet tall, shock of flaming red hair, 6 fingers on each hand, and 2 rows of teeth for gnashing, thrashing, and showcasing.
And it's my understanding, pale white skin too. So you've got a redhead with white skin in Kandahar, Afghanistan, living in the cave systems there, 13 feet tall, 6 fingers, 2 rows of teeth. The Nephilim were said to have 6 fingers, 2 rows of teeth, red hair, white skin.
That's actually biblical.
Yeah, this is like biblical. The mark of Cain, giving it its white skin, but they open fire on this thing, and it's just a fucking brick shithouse. Like, it's just eating it. And so at some point, one of the soldiers calls out to focus fire on its head to shoot in its face. And the only way they were able to kill it was nearly like taking its head off. And the body was recovered, and they were just told not to talk about it. So no official paperwork.
Out.
Yeah, helicoptered out.
Yeah, so that's where you get.
It was on like a Chinook, right? Not just like a helicopter, like one of the fucking like giant cargo helicopters.
Yeah,
and
this was a big boy.
And it spread. Like, they were talking about it, but they were, every time they talked about it, their superiors just basically came over and told them to shut the hell up. But this is a popular story. Like, this wasn't like, this is like something that spread pretty far and wide in the military in that area at the time. A lot of people came home like, oh yeah, we've heard of giants. And a lot of people will tell you, like, the people who live there, the natives, like, yeah, they don't even, it's not a question to them. They believe that giants exist out there. The other story that I was talking about was a guy that was looking through his night vision. He was talking about how sometimes the Taliban, would it have been the Taliban or the Al-Qaeda? It would have been Al-Qaeda. Didn't understand at the time that their fires could be seen on like night vision. And so they'd be huddled around a fire at night in the desert, and they'd be spotted pretty easily. So this guy sees this mass lit up in the distance through his night vision. He's watching it for some time, thinking that it's, a bunch of Afghanis huddled around a fire. And so he checks in with it every once in a while, and he does a scan. He'll come back to it. Nothing's really changed. Eventually, this thing that he thinks is a bunch of potentially Al-Qaeda or just locals stands up. It's one mass. It's one dude. It's huge. And I don't know if you ever looked through night vision goggles. You could see a lot.
Yeah.
And this guy was like, this is a fucking dude, a man with a beard and a long head of hair. And he is massive. And he's got like a loincloth. Like, he's not fully clothed. He's almost like a classic kind of giant looking character. But he said that he was absolutely fucking massive. I couldn't tell you how the rest of that story ends, but I believe you can find that on Tony Merkel's. This is a testimony, probably about 2 hours long, from a guy stationed out there at the time. So this is known norms to the people that live out there.
Yeah, Dave, you know what we didn't mention? Like, it's on our logo for the Nephilim Death Squad, the elongated skull, which you'll see throughout culture. You'll see throughout, I mean, in Egypt alone, these people were wearing this like head garb to cover their elongated skulls, but that was mentioned along with the Nephilim.
All right. That's it's pretty wild. Well, you know what? We'll watch in the after show. We'll watch some stuff on the Kandahar Giant. We'll get into it there and see some stuff. All right, man. Thanks for calling. Appreciate it. All right, we got 2 more callers, and then we're going to wrap this bad boy up. Thanks again, guys. And again, if you have not subscribed to the channel on YouTube or Rumble, please do. I don't know if people watch on Twitter. Hello.
Hello.
Yo.
Y'all hear me?
Yep.
So, yes, I heard, because you guys were talking at extensive time about Jews So I had a question about Nazis and the Bible for y'all.
Go ahead.
Is it? Oh yeah. First off, what's y'all's ranking? How do y'all rank? What's y'all's like power ranking of the different denominations of Christianity? Like for one, I think Orthodox is superior, and then all these Lutherans and Methodists, all the ones who start doing gay shit and gay flags, they're like the bottom rung.
Yeah,
How
I'd say
y'all?
Orthodox is probably the closest to what Christianity originally was, and then this is a messed up thing that I do, but I look at a church, and if they fly the Israeli flag like in the place of America's flag or right next to it, I immediately walk out of it, because it's not even like a Judaic relationship. That's just a Zionist relationship. And I'm like, okay, you guys are clueless, just doing your part for this country.
I assume they usually have the Ukraine flag up as well.
I haven't been
Or
in
they
the church
or they
lately,
just
but I don't
replace
doubt
the
it.
one with the other.
Or the pride flag. I've actually seen a lot of that locally. So we did do an episode with Jay Dyer about Orthodox Christianity. We've also talked to, was it Buck
Johnson
about the Greek Orthodox Church. So far, it seems like that is the most based. A lot of the other denominations seem to do away with the things that they are uncomfortable with. And I'm not a fan of that, because just because something makes you uncomfortable or you don't understand it, when I see you start to ignore it.
Here's the interesting part. So the Orthodox Church is the first church. The first thing that kind of like breaks away from it and starts to is the Catholic Church. And then from there, you start to see the degradation of, so the rest of the denominations are kind of like pullaways from the Catholic Church, not from Orthodoxy. And then they just kind of get worse and worse. What do you say?
Oh, I was just, what Martin Luther did, like starting all the Protestantism, like, fuck that up.
Yep.
Yeah, so I would say Christian Orthodoxy would be so far in my estimation.
There's 4,000 denominations of Christianity. Yeah,
really?
So when you say, yeah, dude, when you say a number like that,
holy
different types, because they're like little sub denominations. You know, you've got like my parents and I was Jesus, what do you call it? Pentecostal. And that ranges from like you ever seen the videos of the people hitting them with shirts and they falling down?
Yeah.
That's
like with the
that's
snakes
a
and
Pentecostal
stuff?
church. And then what was that?
With the snakes?
No, yeah, Benny Hinn, shit like that. Yeah. That Pentecostal goes from there.
I love Benny Hinn.
to like he's the man. But there's a range. So there's probably like, I don't even know, like 100 different types of Pentecostals you can be.
Right.
And go from there. Yeah, it's a mess.
Crazy. All right, Slav, anything else?
And then with the
so
with the Nazi stuff, what is it? Y'all, like, is there any legitimacy with like how far the Nazis are trying to go with like the occult, like stuff relating to the occult, and then them, like, people were speculating that they were trying to make experiments to like manipulate reality, like time travel or some shit like that. Not like time travel, but trying to like open portals and shit.
Well, they did. They had the bell or whatever. Wasn't that
the Nazis got steeped in the occult towards the end, and I know we have another caller, so I'm going to try to make this brief. But right now we're seeing like this renaissance of like Hitler bros. I'm sure everybody's seen this on Twitter, and it's interesting because they show a lot of like what Germany was like under Hitler's reign and how he was just noticing. And they leave out the part where the Nazis became steeped in the occult. And there's like this thing that's happened where the Nazis have become synonymous, at least in the conspiracy world, with UFOs. And I don't think that that's an accident. I don't think that that is untrue. I think that they got really obsessed with like esoteric occult secrets, and they were more than likely in communication with something, to tie back in what we were talking about with the aliens being rebranded when they're really just the fallen. Our stereotypical image of where we get the idea of an alien gray actually comes from Aleister Crowley and his depiction of an entity that he communicated with. I think its name was AWAS. And I believe he communicated with it in one of the Great Pyramids for the first time. And this thing looks like an alien gray. And he didn't call it an alien. I forget what he called it AWAS. But he said that, mankind called them demons in the past, and tomorrow they will call them something different. I think these are the same things that the Nazis were interacting with, and the same things that were being sold today.
There's an interesting overlap too.
Okay, that makes.
I want to, before we move on to the next question, Jerry Marzinski, Dr. Jerry Marzinski, licensed psychotherapist, he details in his work, in documentation, how schizophrenic patients are not hallucinating, that they're repeating a pattern and they're actually in contact with entities. And he has some interesting stories kind of detailing that out, fleshing that out, proving it. This is over 35 years of work. And what he said that rings a bell is what opens up the door to these entities the most that he's seen in his work with schizophrenia is methamphetamine. And then you start thinking about that old trope of Nazis with meth and Hitler just fucking tweaking and, yelling at Eva Braun. There's something there as well. Like once you kick that door open with methamphetamine, you cannot close it. That's schizophrenia, but the door is wide open to being suggestible to just about any entity. They're telling you what to do. There's voices in your head. And then you see what he's doing. He's building UFOs. They're doing some shit in Antarctica.
Right, yeah. And then if the Nazis had a technology to do teleportation, would you think they would use that instead of the ovens for like whatever? No.
Send them to a different planet. You think there's some planet?
I mean, where would you
think there could be an alternate reality where there's just like a planet of Jews?
Send him to Agartha. Yeah, I don't know if he had.
Yeah, did the teleportation devices have wooden doors? Then I don't believe it.
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of speculation as to what sort of technology the Nazis actually had. I know that the way that history wrote it is completely bullshit. So because of their tendency to lie to us and how much we're lied to on a regular basis, I don't blame anybody for diving into this shit and speculating heavy and entertaining wild ideas. But I don't know. I don't know where they would have.
That's the thing. We've been lied to so thoroughly about, like, it was to the point where you couldn't even look at Hitler. Like they use that word to like, don't even look at what happened over there. And then you start to look and I'm like, all this shit is kind of unreliable. Like we it's not that it's not true, but like I can't paint a clear picture of what exactly went down because it's been obfuscated and just
which isn't even not that's not even out of the norm. But when you put that in conjunction with the fact that that is maybe the biggest focal point in history for the public education system, then it becomes an issue because it's like you're being indoctrinated. And this is the biggest thing that you learn about in school is World War II and the Nazis.
I don't like that. Yeah, dude, listen, my family was in camp. My family was in camp and in Gulag. So, but like, dude, that whole, like, they pushed the Holocaust, like, it was like the absolute most worst thing to happen in the world, in the history of the world, which is like completely untrue.
Yeah, dude, it's
like if we're just doing
shit happens. It happens all the time. The world is just a tragedy.
It's like and it seems like it's only this one tragedy that it's insisted upon. Where it's like, what about everybody else? What about like?
I mean, there's been a lot of black holocausts, black people getting holocausted that people don't give a shit about.
Yeah, you can go up to the average person and say 9/11 was an inside job, and they go, man, I don't know about that. But if you say the Holocaust was not at all what it seemed, they get emotional. And when it comes to these topics, that emotional response is telling. It's like, why is that so ingrained in us psychologically to have this visceral response to information that really has nothing to do with you personally? But for some reason you hold on to it with such, vigor that if anybody should say anything contrarian, then all of a sudden it flares up like this huge emotional response. And that's something that needs to be
from a storytelling standpoint, they just made it out as the ultimate, like, good versus evil, literally fucking Darth Vader versus, like they just
that's like saying Sauron was the good guy. And you're like, what?
Yeah. But they made it out that, or, that's how it's been framed. So,
I mean, I blame the English. I mean, they're the ones who told the world. I mean, Hitler told them to leave. and nobody else in the world wanted to take them in because the English said so. So they knew what they were gonna do.
It's the fucking English. All right, Slav, I gotta let you go.
But the blacks have the curse of Ham. That's their black.
We gotta wrap this up. Unfortunately,
the curse of Ham.
The curse of Ham.
The blacks.
We will talk to you tomorrow, Slav. Later, man. Slav, everybody. All right, one more call. Thanks again, guys, for coming on.
Thank you, brother.
And again, subscribe to. I don't know if there's buffering issues. I apologize. The after show link is pinned at the top. You can do anything, and just it never helps. Hello.
Hey, I'm Jack. I'm gonna to play us off here. I'm gonna pitch you guys on a heterodox Nephilim take you may have never heard before. We're gonna start with a little science lesson. All right. So you've heard of ligers, the combination of a male lion and a female tiger, and you might not have heard of Tigons. That's a male tiger and a female lion. A Tigon is actually the largest cat, period. There are larger tigers, but that's because there's so many more tigers. On average, Tigon, largest cat by far. They have hormonal issues. It turns out hormonal issues are actually really common in hybrids. Another funny thing about the Tigon is you're going to have a hard time mating a female Tigon with a male tiger, but you'll be able to mate them more often with a male lion. And so whatever the female side of your first generation hybrid is, that is the species that it's easy to breed the genes back into. Now we have a funny hybridization event where Neanderthals and Denisovans mated with Homo sapiens. This is attested to by genetic evidence. And we don't find their Y chromosomes. We only find the X chromosomes because it was female Homo sapiens that they mated with. Then we look beyond science. We look at the book of Genesis, where we learn that the sons of God came onto the daughters of men. And they gave birth to the mighty men of old, men of renown. And we get the word Nephilim used here. And the Greeks translate that as giants. And so we have something that is not human being the male part in a hybridization event that results in larger than normal offspring. This is actually highly plausible. And now I'm going to drop just that one little cherry on top. Here's the thing, guys. Those red-haired giants you've been hearing about, Neanderthals had red hair.
Okay.
That's your pin drop moment. What do you think of that?
Yeah, so again, it's the same story just being told by our culture. The Neanderthal, whatever they'd call it in ancient Mexico. It's just the same shit over and over again. And to address the part that you were talking about with the females, L.A. Marzulli thinks that they have breeding issues, which is why you see them doing, they're taking the organs from cows. Cow blood is the only blood that's like able to be manipulated and mixed with humans. And at the same time, there's, evidence and not evidence, but there's a testimony after testimony of people coming, getting pregnant, having their babies taken from their wombs by aliens. So there's some kind of a breeding program going on as we speak. So all that stuff to me tracks.
And I do like it because it gives you the precedence for the gigantism as being a result of hybridization. The element that it neglects is the biblical precedent for the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim being demons and the actual presence of demons. Those things do exist. You will find, and it's one of those things where it's like, where's the concrete evidence? I've listened to hundreds and hundreds of hours of testimony. I have had personal experiences that nobody could dissuade me of if you paid me or you sat me across from somebody who was the best debater in the world. I know the things that I've seen. And so there's this demonic spiritual element that theory, which I think has a lot of validity. There are a lot of things in there that are important. Like I said, the hybridization leading to gigantism, but it doesn't address that issue.
Yes, I agree. It doesn't. It provides an alternate explanation for why you would have red-haired hybrid giants. Yes.
Interesting.
There's somebody named Paul Stobbs does a show called Understanding Conspiracies, incredibly well researched, and it's escaping me right now, but he has a really good explanation as to the red hair and the pale skin of these giants that has biblical foothold. In other words, there is biblical precedence for explaining the red hair, but still very interesting. We actually talked about the Liger recently on an episode with Dustin Nemos is going to drop this Thursday. Banger of an episode. And I think one of the interesting things he said about the Liger is that there's a misnomer that they can't they're non-viable and they can't breed. But this is actually not the case. And I forget exactly how he went about that, but it's very interesting. So if you are interested in hearing a little bit about that, check it out when it drops this Thursday.
Cool. Jack.
Yeah, I got low fertility rates.
Jack, what do you do?
Yeah.
You a doctor?
A mix of things. No, I'm
he's a hybrid.
Basically a freelance web developer / legal adjacent thing right now.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Do jury pool research sometimes. It's complicated.
Jury pool research. Do you have a YouTube channel?
Yeah. I don't.
You've piqued the interest of our producer. He thinks you might be somebody else.
No, I'm not anybody important. I'll drop you one more crazy rabbit hole for your listeners here. If you want an absolutely batshit hybrid rabbit hole that is made by a guy with a PhD, look up Eugene McCarthy, macroevolution.net. He's going to try to convince you that humans are a chimp-pig hybrid. It's a fun rabbit hole. I don't really believe it, but it's a fun one.
Took one of those home one night. All right, cool.
Ireland.
I think we all have. All right,
have a good night,
Jack.
guys.
Later, man. All right, that was Jack, everybody. All right, that is the show. Producer Mark is certain that Jack is somebody else. Anyways, but I guess we don't know. All right, guys, tell people where they can find you, please.
Yeah, so you can find us at Nephilim Death Squad on Rumble, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And I am David L. Corbo on Twitter. Top
Lobster on Twitter. Go follow me there. It's also Top Lobster with an A everywhere else. TopLobster.com. Just had a big new merch drop for my own designs. I'm not for people that I design for or people that I host. So go check those out. Those will be fun. Just sold out of sticker packs. And tomorrow, Tower Gang with Owen Benjamin, special time, Tuesday, usually Wednesday, Tuesday, 9/11. Be there. It's going to be
nice.
retarded.
Don't tell him you came on the show tonight. All right. That has been the show. After show is going to start in like 10 or 15 minutes. I posted the link 1,000 times and it is pinned at the top here. Please subscribe to the channel on YouTube, Rumble, or Spotify, wherever it is. Thank you very much. New episode of The Bathhouse tomorrow night. Come hang. That show is hilarious. Thanks, guys, for coming on. Thank you all for watching, and we'll catch some of you very shortly on the after show. Good night. Empathic abilities, yeah, my face be also stolen. Fleet blow up, nigga. That just means I'm working. They see me as a leader, so that's why I'm Captain Kirkin. These tracks from the stars, that much is for certain. You can feel this hit if you up or if you hurt. I'm raising my stock, not talking my feet in some Birkin. Number Johnny 5 got a fucking short circuit. Bring the track to life when I spit phenomenal. When I hit, she feel that shit in her abdominals. These rappers make me laugh like comic view, they comic through. You know I got a ball out, I hit the track running just like Sonic do. They don't want to turn on my light switch. Yeah, they was trying to get me on my hype shit. Yeah, they don't want to turn on my light switch. Yeah, and they tried to down me up some KO type shit. Yeah, they don't want to turn on my light switch. Yeah, now we pulling up fresh on some flight shit. They don't want to turn on my light switch. Yeah, they don't want to turn on my light switch. They don't want to turn on my light switch. Yeah, they was trying to get me on my hype shit. Yeah, they don't want to turn on my light switch. Yeah, then they tried to down me up some KO type shit. Yeah, they don't want to turn on my light switch. Yeah.